Hello guys and welcome to episode 3 of the LENcast. We have a smaller group of us today. It is an Australian LENcast. I am joined by Josh Ferreira at Crossbar Capers.
How you going, mate?
Good, thank you. And we also have Ben on from Corner Flag Games.
Hey everyone, how are we all going?
Just quickly before we start, if you want to get in touch with us, there is a Discord channel that we have where you can talk directly to us. I would highly recommend you jump on that. Our Twitters and everything else will also be linked down below for you to leave us feedback, recommendations, highlights, or anything that you want to communicate with us. Now, let's get into today's episode. As I said, it is an Australian-based episode. We are going to be breaking down the FFA Cup, which is the Australian national competition. So basically, just a quick little summary. It is a national knockout tournament run by Football Australia that involves every state and territory around the country. What happens is it is a knockout tournament, so teams from each state will play against each other in a knockout format until you get the remaining teams. Now, each state has a certain amount of teams that can go through. For example, Victoria has 4 clubs who can go through, along with Queensland, whereas Football South Australia only has 1, along with Tasmania, Northern Territory. You get the idea. Basically, they all compete until you get to the round of 32, which is when the major teams in Australia, the A-League teams, jump into the competition as well. So you get 22 of the semi-professional and amateur clubs playing against 10 A-League clubs, and that is what the FA Cup is in a nutshell. Boys, do you agree?
Sounds pretty much right, mate. Northern New South Wales also have 4 teams that can qualify. Oh, sorry, 2 teams, sorry. Not just the 1.
I wasn't going to go into everyone because that might have dragged on, but I'm glad you brought up the Northern New South Wales competition, Josh. That is a beautiful segue. I want you to kick things off with going into a little bit of detail about who has made it through in the Northern New South Wales competition and anyone you might know.
Yeah, no problem, guys. Well, as I said, the Northern New South Wales competition is down to the final 4 teams to obviously break down to the final 2 who will qualify into the FFA Cup final itself. I was actually at the venue, the Lake Macquarie Regional Football Facility, on Saturday morning to obviously watch a couple of the games, as all the games were held at the venue that day. So yeah, look, let's kick things off with the first game I watched, which obviously was Hamilton Olympic versus Edgeworth Eagles. Now, as some may or may not know, Edgeworth are a pretty strong outfit at the best of times, qualifying for the last 4 FFA Cup tournaments. And Hamilton Olympic actually got one up on them yesterday morning, which is pretty impressive considering they are in the league below. So, yeah, so Hamilton eventually ran out 3-2 winners with a late winner in about, I think it was about the 85th minute. So that wasn't too bad for the boys from Hamilton. Next game obviously was between Newlampton and Port Macquarie. I can't remember the actual name of the team itself, but I think we'll just go Port Macquarie, which is obviously a regional town in New South Wales. And the Port Macquarie boys unfortunately weren't the better side on that game. I hope they enjoyed the 4-hour trip down it took them, because the 8-0 loss that they suffered was probably not what they were expecting, to be perfectly honest.
Footy club. So Port United FC.
Port United is the actual team. There you go. Think, mate, I'd be happy for you to take over any job as long as you don't take over Tara Rushton's.
Yeah,
I will kill you if you take.
I'd be happy to work alongside her. It would be absolutely my pleasure.
You'd be happy to work inside her.
Yeah, is that what I heard?
Could have swore that's what I heard.
I can't confirm nor deny it.
Anyway, continuing on, Josh.
Jeez. I bet Cooper Cronk could. Strongly deny, I'd imagine. But yeah, look, so yeah, as I said, Newlampton, who are the actual Northern New South Wales champions, winning the competition last year in the local league. And as I said, 8-0 victors. So Port Macquarie came obviously hoping to do well, I'd imagine. Possibly not expecting to win, but probably put in a little bit more of a better performance than what they did. But obviously the Lambton Jaffers obviously got the spoils with 2 goals to my cousin, in fact. So as Terence was saying at the start, obviously, someone I may know. Well, yeah, as I said, my cousin plays for Lambton, young up and coming, well, let's say hopefully superstar. If you're watching, Ben, do be proud, mate. I want tickets to the big games if you do make it. Europe, wherever you go.
All about the freebies, you are. All about the freebies.
Mate, some would say I'm cheap.
Yeah, he's got Lauren McKinnon on speed dial.
I do pretty much. I do shout out to Big Loz.
Who watches this?
Jetting out to Russia tomorrow or Tuesday, I believe. But anyway, moving on. We will go to the next game, which I believe was I left at that point to go to a mate's birthday. So the next game I believe was Charlestown City.
Bowenby.
Yeah, Bowenby Bombers, I believe. Which again is up towards the Port Macquarie sort of area, which again, another inland side with obviously not much competition in their sort of vicinity. And yeah, they unfortunately weren't any class for Charlestown, running out, I think it was 6-0 victors. So the boys, obviously, again, didn't put up a fight at all, which, what can you expect, obviously? There's probably like 6 teams in their competition. Yeah, I think that was about it. I think the 3 games were played. Obviously, there's another one, wasn't there?
There was.
There was. Now I was trying to think of who it was. Adamstown and Magic.
That's the one.
Adamstown Rosebuds, Broadman and Magic. Competition, a game that I know very well, being obviously a former player for Adamstown Rosebuds, and had plenty of heated rivalry matches between us and Broadman and Magic. Unfortunately, the Buds no good, which unfortunately is pretty much how it always goes. So I think they lost 3-0. I think it ended up the spoils there. So good victory to Magic, which will now host Hamilton Olympic, which is a heated rivalry here in Newcastle. I hope the cops are on standby, the ambulances, the locksmiths, because they do like to bring knives, bolts, locks, guns, anything they can virtually find to kill each other.
Moving on, we might jump into another competition. Benny, have you got something for us?
I do, mate. I'll go through all 3 that I've got because they're relatively obscure competitions in the grand scheme of things. So the first one I'll start off with is Football Northern Territory, which have 1 spot that qualify into the round of 32. Now, these guys have still got 1 round left, so all games have not been completed. They have not gotten through, one team hasn't made it through to the round of 32 yet. But in previous results, Hellenic AC beat Palmerston Rovers 5-0, what I would say very, very comfortably, to set up a final match for the last spot in Football Northern Territory against Verdi FC, who absolutely belted Celtic FC 4-0. So before that happens and the round of 32 spot is decided, Hellenic will play against Verdi, and the winner of that will go through and take the 1 spot from Northern Territory. Moving on to Football Federation South Australia. Now, 1 team goes through from the South Australian region into the round of 32. There is only the final of that one left to go. 2 very strong teams still yet to contend for that 1 place, and that is Adelaide Comets facing off against the Croydon Kings. Both teams who I'm pretty sure beforehand have made it to the round of 32 prior to this year. And capping it off, I've got Football West, which is the Western Australian equivalent of things. Now, these guys have got 2 spots that go through to the round of 32. This one has actually been decided. So Guelph Croatia Soccer Club beat Florent Athena 4-1 to take the first spot. Now, we should know Florent Athena. They've made it through to the round of 32 on prior occasions as well. Very comfortable win for those guys. And the second team that's gone through is Armadale Soccer Club, who beat ECU Joondalup Soccer Club 3-2. A very tight victory there. And Armadale will take that second spot from Football West.
So I'll move into the first competition I wanted to go through, which was Football Federation Victoria, which is Victoria's equivalent of things. At the moment in Victoria, there are 4 teams who qualify for the round of 32. They have already been decided with Bentley, Avondale, Port Melbourne and Northcote all going through after their playoff rounds. I'm not too sure about any of the games. I believe Benny has a little bit more knowledge about the teams than I do. So we've got results that Bentley beat Kingston 4-0 and Port Melbourne beat Moreland 4-3. Moreland are a side that are quite often in the round of 32 actually. Avondale beat Richmond and Northcote beat Altona Magic by 3 goals to 2, I think that might have been. And I also want to mention that there was one more club in Victoria that is qualified for the round of 32. Now, the winners of the NPL from last season get an automatic qualification into the round of 32, and that was Heidelberg. So they are also in the round of 32 for the FFA Cup.
Come on, the Burgers.
Okay, and Josh, we'll hand back over to you so you can do the rundown for the Football Queensland.
Yeah, no worries, guys. So obviously, first match here, we've got Cairns FC beating the Magpies Crusaders, along with the Lions FC beating Peninsula Power, Olympic FC beating Brisbane City 4-2 on pens, and Gold Coast Knights beating Sunshine Coast, with obviously all 4 of those winning sides going through into the round of 32.
And while you're there, do you want to jump into your last federation, which is Football New South Wales?
Absolutely, mate. So I'm just having a geezer here. We have obviously Sydney Olympic going down 3-0 to EPL Leichhardt Tigers, along with Tarrawanna Blueies going down to Hakoah Sydney City East 4-0. We also have Rockdale City just edging it over Blacktown City 3-2 in probably the round of the game of the round, to be honest. Marconi Stallions 2-1 just over GHFA Spirit. And we've got Hills United going down 2-1 to Bonnyrigg White Eagles, which will round off that final 5 of the New South Wales competition, which will go through to the final 32 teams.
Perfect. Thank you. I will jump into my 2 remaining federations now. So quickly in Tasmania, only 1 team can go through, so they haven't quite finished yet. Devonport will play South Hobart in their final game to see who qualifies for the round of 32. That is played from when we are recording. That's played tomorrow. So by the time you are hearing this, that game will have finished and the result will be official. And in the last federation is Capital Football, with I think also, let me double check, with only 1 team going through from that as well. So they haven't finished quite yet either. And it is Gungahlin versus Canberra. That is a few weeks away, actually. So that's next weekend, next Saturday, that is being played. So after that, the FA Cup round of 32 will be drawn and we'll have our playoffs for the round of 32. Boys, do we have any tips for the FFA Cup this year?
Look, as I said, it's pretty early days. It'll be very hard to obviously find out exactly who's going to win this one. But yeah, look, again, I don't see a non-league side winning this competition. It'll be one of the A-League sides for sure, you'd imagine. Ben?
Yeah, I'd imagine that it would be an A-League side, although it would be nice to finally see a member federation club get past the semi-final stage and into the final. What can we say? Everybody loves an underdog.
Everyone does love an underdog, and that reminds me of a very famous song that I'm sure there are a few people listening love to sing.
Come on, Terence, throw us a few bars, mate, now that you brought yourself into it.
No, there'll be a link down in the description below for an absolute classic, absolute belter being sung by one of our good friends. I'm sure Benny will leave that link in the description when this is uploaded. Won't you, Benny?
Yep, will do.
Okay, moving on. I have one other topic of interest I wanted to get through today. Now that we've covered the FFA Cup, did anyone have anything on the FFA Cup before we moved on?
I think we've banged on enough about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. As I said, I'll just throw the end of it. Just good luck to me cousin, obviously, in the next round versus Charlestown City, which will be played in about 3 weeks. So, yeah, happy days. Go on, Lambton.
Too easy. Well, let's move on then. The last topic that I wanted to get through today is this is a little bit of a different one. Now, there are many competitions around Europe that already do this. It is the winter break in the EPL. What are your thoughts?
Go on, Benny, you can have this one.
You want me to have it? Well, it's long been discussed and touted that the English Premier League clubs in European-based footballing competitions like the UEFA, the Europa League and the Champions League are at a disadvantage, and the managers from those clubs in the EPL have always been whinging the fact that they don't get a winter break. This also comes into tow with international things as well, and comes even as well into speaking into the World Cup matters as well. But it's finally been announced that the Premier League will finally have a winter break from the 2019-2020 season onwards, after the current TV rights deal has been discussed. But it's not a winter break as a standard winter break. So what it is that it's going to break down, not so much into a full winter break, but it will bring the EPL into having what we call a split round, where half the sides will play on one weekend, and then the other five games will be played. So you have 10 teams play on one weekend, and the other 10 will play on the following weekend. What they are guaranteeing is that each team will have a minimum 13-day break, with other English footballing tiers like the Championship and League 1 and League 2. They will not benefit from this. They do not have a winter break, only because of the fixture congestion. With more teams being in those competitions, there just purely isn't enough time to find space for all those teams to have a break. So, unfortunately, it's only going to happen to the Premier League clubs. It also means that the FA Cup 5th round will move to fall in line with this, which will be played, from what I'm reading here, on Saturday the 1st of February. So that will be played slightly later, with the full match programming returning to normal on the weekend of February the 22nd. So yeah, in a way, it sort of is a break, but they're calling it a break, but there's still going to be consistent football. What it is that the TV rights company aren't happy with a full stop on footballing activities for one weekend. Obviously, that loses them lots of money. So they've decided that they're going to split it over 2 weekends instead of having a 1-week break. From the article that I've got up on screen at the moment, a lot of teams are in favour of this, but there are some that are crying out, saying that it's not a real break and they're having a whinge about it. Just be grateful that you're getting something. But yeah, there are other big leagues across the world and in Europe that do have a winter break. Spain has a 2-week break in December to early January. Germany had a 4-week break, which see them massive break, which saw them stop on December the 16th and resume on January the 12th. There are a few teams that did have to play midweek games from December 20th onwards, but that's only for the DFB Pokal. But they still managed to get themselves a decent sized break. Italy do a 2-week break as well, which is sort of what the EPL have based theirs on. It's sort of more of a split break. France begins its mid-break on December the 20th, and they had just over 3 weeks. So basically, in a nutshell, it's a break, and I say that in air quotes. It's a break from league football, but it's not a break from cup football.
Yes, and as you pointed out before, the FA Cup has been modified slightly to accommodate for this break as well, which means that, as you said, I know you've already covered this, but I'll just quickly go over again. Teams playing the FA Cup who might be playing in Europe will probably be a little bit hampered by this, coming up against sides who have had that rest. They've obviously missed out playing midweek games in the league, say Championship, having to play midweek games, say 2 days later for any European football, and then having to play again 3 days later for their own league again without having a break in the middle like now the Premier League will have, is probably going to be a massive disadvantage.
Yeah, see, the only thing I see with it, and I use my own club, Birmingham, as a reference point for this, in the year that we won the Carling Cup against Arsenal, digging into the wounds here to you, mate. Where we beat you guys. We became, and it's a very rare prospect, but we became one of the only clubs to win a major trophy in England and get relegated in the exact same season. So in saying that though, if that situation were to happen again, or even going further abroad again, if a championship side or lower wins a major cup tournament, which then qualifies them for European football in the next season, they won't get a break for a start. That break doesn't come into for them. So they've got to play 46 odd rounds worth of just league football. Not only that, they'll
46
have to,
exactly.
And they'll have to play in local cup competitions, being the FA Cup and what is it now, the Carabao Cup. So they've got those games as well, which are going to be mixed into it. Plus their European games from the European Cup that they've qualified for, which I think is the Europa League if you win the Carabao Cup from memory.
Yes, yep.
So they've got 46 league games, and they have to play midweek games because it's way too much. They've got the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup, and European games, and they don't benefit from a break. It's those sides. I understand that it's going to be highly unlikely. In the case that it does happen, those championship or lower sides are going to get absolutely demolished. And without the financial fair play resources as high as, say, a Premier League club, those players are going to be absolutely run off their feet. And my big theory in that is that they're throwing a lot of those other players under the bus who may not be the sort of caliber of player that you would get in your EPL side. Relatively inexpensive wages in comparison to the Premier League as well. There's a whole host of things, being it financial. My major thing is the risk of injury.
And not only injury, but then going back into the game before or the following games is how do you line up? Because if you've got, say, 2 league games and then you've got European football straight away, you're going to want the best team on the pitch for your league cups, because let's be honest, if a championship side does make it to the Europa League, they're not going to expect to take a trophy from that. Whereas they would, if they've qualified for Europa, you would expect them to be pushing for a league title. They're going to want to put everything they can into the league title. So how are they going to set up their squads for those games? Because they're also not going to want to go onto the world stage and be humiliated.
Well, yeah, there's the other side of the coin as well. I'm pretty sure it's for every round of the Europa League that you win, you do get a certain sort of financial benefit from that as well. So a lot of those championship clubs will also be focusing on the Europa League stuff, because if they do manage to win or get through their group stage by some form of a miracle, they're going to have that's going to have a massive financial impact on the club.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Josh, do you have any thoughts?
Oh, sorry. Friggin' thoughts waiting to get a word in. Bloody, yeah, look, pretty short and sweet. Pretty short and sweet. It's fucking shit. It's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard. Absolute crock of shit. Fucking, these pricks get paid fucking millions and millions and millions of dollars to play football. Suck it the fuck up. Honestly, it's a joke. Yeah, a winter break, whoop-de-doo, you get 13 days off. Like, the whole idea of being a team, especially in the English Premier League, best league in the world until this comes in, and then they'll be shit like the rest of them, is you've got so much money. The whole idea is to have depth in your squad to accommodate for this shit. It's no different to guys leaving for the African Cup of Nations or friggin' whatever else it is. You know what I mean? Like, just keep playing. You know what I mean? If you're not fit, sit it out. You know what I mean? I'm not paying $100 million for a player to sit on the bench and have 13 days off. If he's fit, ready to go. If he's injured, so be it. Sit on the bench. I'll find someone else to fill in. Yeah, look, as I said, I'm not going to go on about it for... Fuck, I could sit here and go on for 15, 20 minutes about how stupid I think the idea is. It's, yeah, look, not a fan. Not a fan. Dumbest thing I've seen in... Because
you've brought up the other financial side of things as well, the FA are also in the process of implementing a rule when this winter break comes in for clubs that maybe aren't playing in Europe that still want to have game time over that 13-day break or whatever. The FA is actually bringing in a rule to stop clubs having glorified friendly matches during that break period to recoup some money.
Yes.
Well, so they're not allowed to have friendlies in between that 13 days.
Nope, they're not allowed to at all.
Oh, well, they just play in intra club match. Well, they're going to fucking stop the club from doing that? I don't think so.
I don't think they can do that, but they can't financially profit from it.
Yeah, of course. Well, they're not going to friggin' jeopardise injuring people in a 13-day break against another team. They friggin' we'll play the under 23s and friggin' or whatever it is. Or again, the first team squad's got fucking nearly 30 players in it. There's 2 teams there. Yeah, it's just a stupid thing. Like you watch it in the Bundesliga and stuff like that, and I'm a Liverpool fan. Klopp as my manager, Klopp as being a coach in Germany, and saying how much he enjoys the friggin' break. So be it. That's what he's been used to for pretty much his whole coaching career. So of course he'd be used to it by now. But yeah, I don't know. It's just stupid. It hasn't been in play in England since the Premier League started in '92. Why start it now?
But yeah, what I will do, guys, is I'll link this article that we're getting all this information from. I'll link this in the comments below for you guys to have for all those other people who are watching to have a peruse through as well. But just on one point as well, I'll read out what's here in the article. And it's an interesting point. The Premier League break is currently scheduled to take place at a different time to other major European leagues as well. But at the same point, Major League Soccer, Chinese Super League teams are in pre-season training schedules. So it wouldn't be unrealistic for them to have friendlies against them. Also, we're going to mention the Australian A-League teams are also available during this time. But the Premier League is determined to prevent the break from being abused for financial gain.
Yeah.
Which is possibly the first time I've ever seen any league make a decision that wasn't for financial gain. And I don't want to go back onto this topic because I know we have already covered it, but do you find that do you think that they're doing that to make themselves look better? Or do you think they're doing that because they are genuinely worried about teams trying to get a financial gain out of that time? Because obviously, I'll take Arsenal as an example. If we travelled somewhere around the world, we are guaranteed to get ticket sales no matter where we go. Whereas, say, Benny, if you took Birmingham somewhere, you wouldn't get as much. So I can understand it. But do you think they're doing that to stop teams from having that financial gain? Or do you think they are doing it to enforce that there has to be a break for players?
I think it's a bit of column A and a bit of column B. For your bigger teams like that, obviously they're going to pull in more money than, say, your Leicesters or things like that. So I think they're stopping it for financial gain for the pure and simple fact that they want the players to have the 13-day break, flat out. That's non-negotiable. But when it comes to the financial side of things, I think they're stopping it because they can't guarantee that every single team, if they do have a friendly match, are going to pull in the same amount of ticket sale revenue. So instead of being able to monitor that and limit that to a certain extent, what they're doing is they're just going, no team financially can profit from this. That way it's an even playing field. It also keeps in line with that money would then be interjected and will have to be sort of worked out in every club's financial fair play, thus making the bigger teams being able to bring in more money, less hampering by financial fair play in the years to come from that. What I do find funny is that, okay, this article's written by ESPN, and we all know ESPN don't know fucking shit about football, just as much as what we Australians do. Oh, no, it's the co.uk ESPN, but, it's probably still been written by an American, this article.
Probably.
But I find it funny how they turn around and say, the Australian A-League teams are available. Clearly, they don't pay attention to the Australian A-League because over December, January, that's probably our most busiest period where our games are spread out over ridiculous days.
It's the middle of the season.
Well, not so much that. We do have midweek games that need to... Oh, well, not so much midweek games, but we've got Monday games and we've got, Thursday games that happen which normally just don't. Because of the public holidays of the Christmas Eve and Christmas Day and New Year's Day.
And then even moving further into Australia Day, it spans out that far.
Yeah, it does. It goes to Australia Day, which is midway through January.
At the end of January, yeah.
So yeah, it's. I just thought I'd take that little note out of it, saying that this article is, well, on one side it's very informative, on the other side they know nothing about Australian football. So Anyway, I've waffled on about that too much.
Well, fellas, I'm going to ask if there are any more points of interest or topics you wanted to raise before we finish this episode.
No, I'm pretty good. I think that's, yeah. Well, I'm done, I think.
You're done?
Before we get into general business, let's have a quick rundown on what everybody's done this week.
Right. Where are we going with this?
Oh, it's just something that Dan likes to do all the time.
Okay, I didn't think we are going to do this, but okay, let's go. Josh, kick us off.
Work 6 days out of the 7 days of the week. Come home, cook tea, put the child to bed. Went to bed myself. Went to my mate's 30th yesterday. Went to the soccer before that. Had a week off soccer because it's a public holiday tomorrow, and that's my week done.
All right. Well, thank you for being so upbeat and enthusiastic about that. Benny, what have you got up to this week?
So, I, like everybody else, have a full-time job. I worked Monday to Friday, lifting pallets into bloody food pallets into racking in the warehouse that I work in. Driving me reach forklift around everywhere. Did that for 5 days. This week, come home, cook dinner, same sort of thing. Had indoor soccer on Monday, had a win.
Practice your violin.
After me come back from a 3-week injury, mate, and scored 2 goals. And don't tell me about crying a violin, mate. You didn't even rock up, so you got nothing to whinge about. So yeah, did all that, and basically all weekend I've spent with you, drinking and filming things for your channel, and I've edited some. I've done quite a bit of editing this weekend for myself for things that are yet to come on the Corner Flag Games channel. There's a cheeky plug, which all involve you guys. So thank you very much once again. And Josh failed to mention it, but I'll mention it. But it's a public holiday tomorrow, so I don't have to go to work. So what am I doing? Probably going to sit in front of my computer and do more editing and then play a game of indoor soccer tomorrow night.
Very nice. Sounds like you've had a little bit more on than Josh, or maybe that was just because you waffled on a little bit longer than Josh because he sounded so enthusiastic and keen to be here. And we've got no reply from him.
You can't use the excuse for school night this time, mate.
At least I'm awake for this one, boys.
He worked out how to set an alarm.
Yes, well, last week we couldn't help. But anyway, I'll quickly go into what I did because no one really cares, but it means I have to talk for longer and Josh can't go yet, so it's just going to piss him off. So I also have a full-time job, so I was there all throughout the week. Then, as Ben said, I spent most of the weekend with himself, filming some things and getting things done. Played football today, got up 3-2. It was an interesting game. There was nearly a big punch on. But we won. That was the main thing. Our first points for first points of the season. So it was good to finally get one up on the board. And yeah, looking forward to next week, which will be a tough game against the ladder leaders at the moment. So we've got all things ahead. But anyway, if we have no more points of interest to bring up, we'll move into our outro. And I'll take the silence to mean we can do it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to leave your comments down below if you're watching this on YouTube or if you're listening to on Podcast One. Make sure you tweet us, hit us up in Discord, any way you want to get in touch with us. We absolutely love getting your feedback. Make sure you do join the Discord. It is great fun to, even if you just want to sit back and watch some of the banter that unfolds, you can talk to us directly on there. It is an amazing platform for getting in touch with us, giving us thoughts, ideas, feedback, anything like that, or just being a part of the community as well. The whole idea of the LEN network is to be one big community. So if you are a part of it, if you enjoy the content that we put out, please join the Discord, be a part of the community, because that is what we want. We want to build a big network of everyone so we can all enjoy the content together. Now, there will be links in the description on YouTube for all of our Twitters, the Discord channel, all those sort of things. So make sure you check those out. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. I want to thank Josh and Ben for being on. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much, Tess.
And we'll see you, Ben. And we'll see you next week for another episode of LENcast. See you later.